up, family? It's Rashid, the car guide. Welcome to another episode of Ages and Stages. And tonight, I'm having a special men's panel. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, I do a men's panel from time to time. That's when I'm led to do it. And I want to talk to some men I respect and want to hear from. And we talk about things that motivate men from a men's perspective. So this is no different. But at the same time, this is a very, very special episode. So these are buddies of mine, friends, acquaintances, associates, black men that I value, that I look up to, and I admire. And we all are classmates from the illustrious Alabama A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama. So we also share a unique bond as well, others outside of our alumni and our friendships, the fact that we've all been in some form of fashion on television. So instead of this one being barbershop talk, we're going to call this one From Huntsville to Hollywood. So stay with me. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. And I'm going to introduce these dynamic brothers individually and run down their accolades. And we're going to get started. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel and ask for more of these men's panels, and I'll do them at your request. Thank you so much. So let's get into it. All right. Without further ado, let's bring this first gentleman into the show. This young man is an aspiring actor and is a mental health advocate who's appeared on BET's After Happily Ever After and Lost Resort on TBS. The Chicago native is a graduate of the Alabama A&M University in 2005 with a degree in urban planning and a minor in telecommunications. In addition to acting, he is also the owner of Vacancy Properties, a home-sharing business in Chicago. After working 13 years as a firefighter, he decided to pursue acting, but yet still serve within his community by volunteering through his fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, and the UNIA. So help me welcome Vairrun Strickland to the show. What's up, Vairrun?
What's going on, Rashid? How you feel, brother?
I'm doing
good
great,
to see
man.
you.
It's good to see you, my man. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you got a busy schedule, and we'll get into it shortly, but I'm going to bring in the other brothers here. Right. This next brother I'm going to bring to the show is one of the stars of OWN's #1 reality TV show, Love and Marriage Huntsville, along with his beautiful wife, Kimmy Scott. He is also a consumer protection lawyer and founder and partner of United Legal Teams, LLC. He graduated as the valedictorian of his law school in Birmingham School of Law. Maurice, also the co-founder of Credit One USA in 2007, is a credit repair and financial solutions company. Maurice was born in Pontiac, Michigan, and is a graduate of the Alabama A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama in 2002. He also played football for the A&M Bulldogs. Welcome my brother, Maurice Scott, to the show. My man.
What's up, Ron?
Man, thank you, man. I know you're crazy busy. I thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a dynamic platform. And as you guys can see, we're starting with some heavy hitters. So without further ado, I got two more gentlemen to bring in. This next gentleman, he is also one of the stars of OWN's #1 hit reality show, Love and Marriage Huntsville, along with his beautiful wife, Tisha Scott. This gentleman is a successful businessman and currently the president of Scult Industries. Scult is a multi-million-dollar commercial contracting firm specializing in multi-family, hospitality, and retail construction. Marsau is also the co-owner of Black Cigar Lounge in Huntsville, Alabama, nominated by the Huntsville Chamber of Commerce as the best emerging business in the city. Also a 2004 graduate of the Alabama A&M University, yeah, you got it, with a degree in business management. Welcome, Marsau Scott, to the show.
So,
man, Marsau, the infamous, the one and only, the one
What
and
up,
one.
dog?
What up, dog? Detroit in the building. Last but certainly not least, I saved this brother because he's a dynamic brother of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and also my lion brother. So, you know, got to show a little deference to my guy. But let me introduce you to this dynamic brother. He is the founder and CEO of Calloway Infrastructure Partners, an alternative investment firm focusing on municipal utility optimization. Prior to starting Calloway, In 2016, he founded Pine Street Strategies, a public affairs firm at which he led the firm's general congressional advocacy program and political campaign practices, while also managing political campaigns across the U.S., specializing in electing America's next generation of mayors. Yeah, mayors. He gets mayors elected. He also was a member of the Missouri House of Representatives, where he represented over 50,000 residents in St. Louis County, including Ferguson from 2008 to 2010. My line brother, again, a member of the illustrious Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and the Gamma Phi chapter at Alabama A&M University, 2001. And he's also a graduate of the Alabama A&M University in 2002 with a degree in criminal justice. He also received his law degree from Ivy League Boston University. And if that's not enough, he's also consistently seen on television as a Democratic strategist and contributor on multiple news networks, such as Fox News and MSNBC, providing his insight from the Black perspective. Welcome my brother, my friend, my line brother, my compadre, my confidant, Don Calloway, to the show.
Salute. What's up, Uncle Fester?
What's up, man? What's up? How you doing, bro?
We gotta give it up to the political side of A&M.
Yes, the political side, the congressman.
I'm just happy, boy. I don't know if you know what you pulled off. I think that during our era on the yard, which probably is still the case, if you weren't from Alabama or Atlanta, you were from Chicago, Detroit, or St. Louis. Like
100%.
You're a bit of an outlier from Houston, but we show you love anyhow. Like my roommate was from the D. We knew a bunch of cats from the D. A nigga used to crash with us, a dude named Big Fella from the Chi. I don't even remember his name, but that's what we call him, Big Fella from the Chi. And he stayed in our apartment all the time for free. So shout out to that nigga too.
No, for real talk though. So when I got there, I loved the fact that I was Houston, Texas. I loved it because I had the Texas plates. I came in Brad because it was me and Courtney, my teammate, Tex from Lubbock. That's it. Like you said, it was a lot of Midwest cats. A lot of,
I didn't even know Tex's name.
Yeah, right. That's all it was, Tex, right? So I used to love that, bro. Y'all don't know how much play that got me from Houston, from Texas.
Bruh.
But, like, nobody had heard of Alabama. Like, when I came back home, I said, yeah, I went to A&M. They think Texas A&M. I'm like, nah, Alabama A&M. It wasn't known because you got so many HBCUs in between, Prairie View, TSU, Southern, Grambling, the whole nine. But I had a blast on the yard, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But, like I said, we have tons of things in common. Most importantly, we all graduated from an HBCU, the Alabama A&M University. And another thing we have in common, we've all been on this thing called television and in our different respects. And we're going to talk about that and the fact that I love the fact that you guys are all positive and successful brothers doing your thing and being able to show the world what good men you are, how hardworking, successful husbands, fathers, and businessmen, and leaders, most importantly. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm honored to have you guys, and I look up to each and every one of you guys. And I've called you all individually just to chop it up about life, love, relationships, business, and the whole nine yards. So we're going to get into that. I would love to hear your perspective on a lot of things. But keep in mind, fellas, and people at home watching, this is the barbershop. This is the barbershop where we let it all loose. We're just going to have a little fun. We're going to talk, and we're just going to kick it like nobody's around. We're just in a barbershop from a male's perspective. So anybody drinking anything tonight? Anybody have a drink of choice?
Man, I gotta always go with some gin, man.
Some gin?
I felt
gin?
Right, exactly. That you see that reaction? Veron,
is that
like,
a Michigan
man,
thing?
that'll take a six-pack away in a week.
Man, Don is dying. He's over there coughing, killing himself, man.
Man, gin, it tastes like it could run a car engine. What'd you say, Marsau?
I said I got some Johnny Walker Blue for the special occasion, man.
Oh,
Ooh,
cheers. Top shelf. Okay. You drinking anything over there, Veron?
Yeah, man. My selection it evolved over the years, especially back at A&M. At A&M, freshman year, we used to drink anything, Mad Dog 2020.
And T-Bird.
You say Thunder?
Yes, sir.
That's a throwback.
But
100%.
like real talk, I honestly, and I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist or nothing like that. I really feel like over the years with some of the alcohol, it's the recipe has changed.
Mm.
So it kind of changed how your body react to it. It's either that or it's either your age.
Okay.
It's
It's
because
more like the eight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think just like your favorite restaurant, you remember back in the day how good it was and kind of nice, like because they cut corners. I think
Yeah.
it's the same thing with alcohol these days. Like you may have those certain companies that actually keep it the same, where the same recipe without cutting corners. But
Mhm.
Well,
I say that to say that when I was in school, vodka was the drink of choice. Okay, then it switched to cognac.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like the mid, maybe like junior, senior year, and then to be honest with you, since I've been home, man, it's been tequila.
Okay.
Um,
I hear a lot
Oh
of that.
yeah.
As a lot of cats get older, a lot of my friend groups, they love the tequila. They think it's healthier for the body and they can keep the
Yeah.
weight and the carbs down. Now, one of them ever seen the inside of a gym, so he's just drinking tequila to supplement the sit-ups and the push-ups. But I know you. I know better than
know how the body reacts to certain alcohol.
Okay.
Like I love Whistle Pig Rye. I love
Yep.
whiskey, Whistle
Yeah.
Pig Rye. I love it,
Right.
but I can't party with that.
Yeah.
If I go
Mm.
out and drink that, I'm gonna be in jail.
Yeah.
You know,
Man, if you can't tell already,
you mix up in an old fashioned at home, and you drink at home.
yeah, for
Now,
sure.
tequila is something that I could chill, I could go out and hang out with, and not be too
I got you.
all
That
over
makes
the
sense.
place. You know,
Yeah.
vodka that's out the
Yeah.
question. You
Right.
gonna be fighting.
So what
Nah.
what the barbershop would be without a cat who's a conspiracy theorist? This is the
Right.
barbershop for you. You got to always have one in the barbershop. We might even have two. Don, you got anything, man? You drinking on an adult beverage at all?
Yeah,
I know
man,
you're the
this is just
congressman.
a
You're
red
in
blend.
politics. You got to be,
Yeah, just really basic red blend today, man. I
blend.
have actually moved far more into smoking than drinking these days. And
Oh,
so, yeah, man, legal in the district, has been for 10 years. So no crimes committed over here.
I love it.
But I do that far more than I drink alcohol these days. But this is a solid red blend. I've kind of had to get off of that brown, man. Hennessy was never good. We just made them folks a lot of money.
Yeah, I hear you.
Fact.
I hear you.
Facts.
Speaking of, so for me, I've got a little Douce with lemonade. That's been my little thing, but it's
Strong.
kind of calms and chills me out. But like you said, we made them a lot of money, and they're not paying for this, so I'm just we're going to sit this down. Now, if y'all want to sponsor the show, reach out to me, holla at your boy. Everything's for sale. Thank you. All right. So anyway, let's get into it, man. Without further ado, let's jump right into it, man. We'll talk about our TV accolades a little bit later, but you guys are so much more than that. Most of us are married or have been married, and we got one single guy here pulling up the rear. So let's talk about it, man. What are the pressures of marriage versus the pressures of single life? We've all been single, and there's a distinct difference. So let's hear from the one single guy in the group. What are the pressures of a single man, and do you hope to be married at some point, or do you enjoy your single life? For Ron, what you got?
Man, where do I start? Like with the last question or the first one? I'm gonna go with the last question you asked. Do I enjoy the single life? I do. I would be a liar if I said that I didn't move how I want to move, and without the pressures of being married and having kids. The flip side of that, I just turned 41. So you get them looks, you get them questions, not
Right.
only, it was cool when you was getting it from people you grew up with or strangers or something like that. But when moms and pops get to saying, they get to looking at
Where
you.
my grandbaby's at?
Right. Right.
Wait.
But-
Keep it 1,000.
Yeah, please.
Do you think that people think you're gay because you have not ever been married? Because
Listen. I would say, I would definitely say, no, hold on, no.
The barbershop.
I'm giving it a thought. Like,
No, it's the barbershop.
Hey,
Let's go.
listen, that's a question.
Listen,
We're starting
we
off with
live
a
in,
buck.
you jump right
in
into it.
anything
Jump right into
that
it.
a black man does that's deemed out of the ordinary, you're gonna be called gay.
Talk about
bottom
it.
line.
Talk about it.
Whether you do something right, wrong, you could be doing everything right. And just because you're doing it right, oh, he must be gay.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Listen, that makes, Devron, to be honest, you got to defend that because, Don has a point.
No, I defend it.
41, no
Mental
kids.
health and no kids.
Yeah. And you got your shirt off half the time on your IG.
I want to be.
You
That
take
was
naked pictures on
Let's get it.
I'm just jealous. I don't have that six pack no more. I'm jealous.
Listen, let's get deep into it because
Let's go.
one thing I wanted to do was if we were going to talk about these subjects, I want to be completely transparent.
Let's go. That's what the barbershop's about.
And when I say mental health advocate, I really take that serious. I've actually done the work on myself, and I'm not done. I'm not completely fixed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I don't think any of us are.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
So let's talk about why I think, as far as like the kids and the marriage thing. Okay, I think it's due to trauma, childhood trauma.
Okay.
You know, as far as marriage go, my parents divorced at 5. It was one of the most traumatizing things that ever happened. At the same time, it was actually during the big crack epidemic in Chicago where my parents went from, just being regular teenagers to boom, it hit Chicago like Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And my parents went from selling drugs to doing drugs. That would break up any marriage at the age of 5. I went from a 2-parent home to just being with grandma most of the time. I think the trauma from that, subconsciously was more or less like I would never want to put a kid through that.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it delayed me from getting married. I also heard something, and I'm not sure how true it is that when you're a kid and you're not concentrated on being a kid and you're more worried about grown-up things.
Yeah, you
I
got
was
to
with
grow up
grandma
quick.
all the time. I was always worried about what my father was doing, what my mom was doing, because it was a period where they weren't around as much as they should have been. It stunts your growth. You see what I'm saying? So, there was a lot of building, relearning, rebuilding that I had to do that sadly I didn't do until my 30s. I didn't see a therapist until 35, 36.
Yeah.
And I was 5. You see? Another thing is that when my mom got clean and she actually did get remarried to my stepfather, like me and him are like this, and me and my father are like this too. I have to have 2 dads. My parents had to rebuild from the ground up, basically come from nothing at the age of 11. You know what I'm saying? I had to rebuild everything. I was the oldest. I have 2 sisters and a little brother. They're all 2 years apart. At the time, they were. My little sister was 1, and then my other little sister was 3. My little brother hadn't been born yet, but 2 years later, here he comes. Most of my childhood, I babysat.
Yeah. So in essence, you had to grow up really fast. You had to be an adult.
You say what?
I said, so I'm sorry to cut you off. So in essence, you had to grow up really, really fast. You had to be adult, and you had to have concerns that a typical preteen should not have.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
at 2 times, you know what I mean? The second time was, when we talk about me being 41 and not having kids. Real talk, I feel like I raised mine already. Listen, my little sisters, I had to learn how to pull back from my siblings, like love them all day. But I was around them so much and I did so much for them, it became a thing where I was like a parent, where they would tell my parents, he think our daddy. And my parents had to tell them like, yo, we was gone. He was with you.
Yeah.
He kind of raised you.
Kind of is your dad.
Hey, see,
Go ahead, Marsau.
I'm gonna throw something out there, man, because
Sure.
I don't know if for me, when I hear that, and listen, I don't want to be insensitive to that, right? But I'm ignorant as hell when it comes to this, and here's why: because I feel like gravity pulls on us all.
Yes.
And so, if you're gonna tell me that I didn't grow up as a regular kid, you're gonna have to show me a regular kid, and you're
Yeah.
gonna have to show me someone like
And
when
what
you
that looks
said,
like.
yeah, like you said, you're not fixed yet. Like, show me a fixed human,
Yeah.
right? Because we're all broken, and if we're all broken, then broken has to be the normal.
But did we all, as far as broken goes, did we all go through the same things? Like
No,
I know I
bro.
can be arrogant. Like the D, because you came up in the D, right?
I came up in. Listen, let me tell you something, dog. Where I came up in is like I came up in a tough situation, and in my life, I didn't know how tough it was until I literally compared it to others, right? Like
Because it was your
I didn't
normal.
know we were I didn't know we were poor. I knew we were hungry. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? And believe it or not, the shit that got us through. It's 6 boys, 2 girls, right? I'm telling you just brief story. Every time we left the house, they had to tear it down. Like we lived in like, houses that were scary. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like it looked like haunted. Like if you go back and look at it, like I remember like the fun stuff, like coming down halfway the stairs and jumping off because we didn't have stair rails. Like the kitchen wasn't finished. But my point is that the only thing that got us through is laughter. Like we
Okay.
laughed through everything. Everything was funny. We didn't have food, we laughed. It was too hot, we laughed. The heat was off, we laughed. It was too cold. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff. We were homeless, we laughed. You know what I'm saying?
Must ask you a question. Did you have both parents in the house?
Sometimes when my dad wasn't in jail.
Right.
Okay.
And if,
So,
for those who don't
and
know,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it to go against your situation. What I'm saying is, see, I
it's
didn't
just
even
different.
mention living situations.
Right. It's
Y'all
just
know.
different. It's just, but what Marcel's saying is we're all broken, but like what you're saying, Vairrun, is different levels of brokenness.
There's levels.
Yeah.
There's
It's,
levels.
it's only when you compare it. It's only
Yeah.
when you
I
compare
my deal is to be born into a 2-parent home
Mhm.
and then have it ripped from you at the age of 5.
Yeah, that's different.
Have
Yeah.
it ripped from you from the age of 5, and your parents aren't around, and all you see is real talk. This is what was going on in, I was born in 81. This is what was going on in 85, 86, 87. It was drug dealing, drug using, pimping, and prostitution.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
what I came in West Inglewood, Chicago,
Great.
and
I
a
got you.
lot of gangbanging.
Right.
hey,
So
I just gotta push back on one thing though,
go ahead.
because the thing is, Don assumes that Varon doesn't have children. Varon don't even know if Varon got children.
honestly he didn't have children.
He might get surprised.
Hey,
They
stop it.
don't they don't
I
show
don't
up
even
to
like
their
to think about
16
that, bro, because
wearing a
we all did. We've
wearing them
all
hats you
been
got
doing our
on
thing
like
back in
on
the single
yours.
days.
Hey,
Ron, you got none on the books, right?
hey, he
No,
ain't got
no,
none of the book. I'll never
Okay.
forget this, for real.
No,
Hey,
but
Marcel,
thank you
you
so
remember
much,
this?
I
Varon.
gotta look.
Right.
I
Hey,
gotta.
Marcel, remember this, dog. We
I
were going to A&M during this time. We was going to A&M during this time, right? We was building swimming pools. I get a phone call. It's on the home phone. Now, we got cell phones, right? So I'm like, okay, let me get this because it could be a customer. I get a phone call. Hello, is this Maurice Scott? I'm like, yeah, this is Maurice Scott. So, Mr. Scott, we're going to need you to come down and sign away your parental rights. I'm like, wait,
Whoa.
what? Hold on. So they're like, yeah, you have a child that's up for adoption, and we need you to
What?
sign away your parental rights. I get this phone call at 19. Literally, I'm sick. This is in the morning. I'm physically ill for the whole day, right? So the next day, they call back in the morning again, and I'm like, okay, so who is it and when? So then they give me the timeline. I'm like, this is impossible, bro. I was at A&M. Thank God.
Right.
This mug said it was in Michigan, in Ypsilanti somewhere, bro. While I was away at school, I was like, this is, thank God.
Boy had
I
a
don't have
cold
no
alibi.
kids. Hey, Vairrun,
Yes,
I just
sir.
say that to say that, listen, stay near your phone, bro.
I'm gonna be honest
That's
with
what
you. If I had,
that's what you
they would
had
let
from
me.
that?
They would have let me. So, but to wrap it up, man, like
Yeah,
honestly,
go ahead, brother.
I think that is my deal with it. You know, I'm not completely sure. I would say that a lot of my childhood was bringing up my siblings who were younger than me. You know what I mean? As far as marriage go, I'm sure I still have traumas from my
Yeah.
parents' marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
Now back to what you were talking about, Don, was like I said, man, I think anything and definitely I get the first thing I get if I meet with being single and meet somebody, the first thing I say, hey, around how old are you? Oh, I'm 40, I'm 41. You know, you married? No, I'm not married. You got kids? No, I don't have kids. What's
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
with
you
you?
get that look. Yeah, what's wrong with you?
What's
But
wrong with you?
let me ask you this though,
You know?
and we'll start moving on because I don't want to hold you guys too much on this topic. But
Yeah.
as men, when we meet our counterpart, a female with the same type of resume, don't we do the same thing? Like, yo, what's wrong with you?
I
You
don't.
40, no kids, never been married.
Yeah, I've never done. I mean, I think
I'll
that's
admit I've
kind of
done
like
it.
a common line, which is if she's 35, like that's just like Varon. I think about this a lot actually. The sociological and actual observable ramifications of crack. In terms of 40 years later now.
Yeah.
If hip hop is 50, crack is 40, and I think all of us are old enough to remember the hood. I like at my age because I remember the hood pre-crack, and I remember the hood immediately post-crack. Market difference. And so in a post-crack era, I mean, just the systematic removal of black men to the prison industrial complex, just the numbers aren't there for them to be married in, or those who would want to be married in equal, countenance to us. So many brothers were wiped out by crack,
Right.
and of
Yeah.
course the things that came from crack over the next 25 years, that just demographically the numbers aren't there. And that's one reason. Obviously, it's a sexist kind of trope as well,
For sure.
because it ultimately just means that a woman's value or life has to be centered around some dude, right? But and also, a lot of women at this point just have the agency to say, if I'm gonna be with some man who's not progressive, who has not done the work that like Varon has that I haven't, right? Like I can be unhappy on my own. You know what I mean? I got
Yeah.
stuff, I got a good job, I'm educated. I don't really need a man to be full anymore. And I'm good kind of being
But
solo.
right. But
Can
do
they
you
do
Well,
feel
that for
is
real?
that
Can they?
is that right or
Yeah,
wrong
and
though?
you know what? And you know what they can't? Here's
Or
the thing.
go ahead.
Can they?
I think
Right.
I
That's
don't
my
know if they
point.
can or
Can
not. I'm
they?
just saying that's the
Or
calculus, right? That I think a
Okay,
lot of
okay.
single women are
where's
making.
Marcel? We lost Marcel. But okay, hold on one
And
second.
I would
One
lastly
second,
say,
Don. Let me ask you this.
That
Let-
a lot of these single women are their grandmama's dream come true because grandmama was unhappy as fuck, right? But she wrote it out. She wrote it
Whoa.
out, right?
Yeah,
And because
Whoa.
women didn't have options, right? Women
yeah.
weren't working outside of the home, but they did what they did so their granddaughters would one day not have to be in these unhappy situations. Now they love their kids and they
Right.
love their families, but I think a lot of them are, and we're talking generationally, our grandmothers like
Yeah.
legit were not happy with how they were treated at home and what their lives turned out to be. And I think they told their granddaughters, who are now our counterparts in adult 40-something-year-old women, I think they told them, baby, you don't have to do this. Or
Hey,
they just
Don,
observed it and said, I don't want that.
Right.
that's a hell of a point.
So that's a great
I
point.
never looked at it like, the granddaughters are now the dreams that they always had.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
at the end of the day, all people want is a choice.
Yeah.
And back then, it was frowned upon if you just left the family because you might be getting your ass whipped. Your husband might be cheating on you, whatever. He got kids, like literally right across town,
Yeah.
and you're stuck
Across the
because
street, yeah.
it's the thing that society says that you got to do.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
I think
That's a different
I
way.
think that comes from
I
trauma
don't
though
necessarily
as well.
believe that. I think that back then, women, grandma, Madea, understood that a man is going to be a man. You hear a woman say that these days. A man going to be a man until it's their man. You hear
Okay.
it all the time.
That doesn't mean
Grandma,
they were happy with it, though. That doesn't mean they were happy with it. You know what I mean?
That was kind of a
that doesn't
simulation.
mean that
I
they
think
were totally unhappy.
right. That was a simulation by the times and the situations that they were in some instances. But you hear those type of, old black country neighborhoods where the husband had a family right across the street and a whole nother, like you take Terrell Owens, for instance, from Alexander City, Alabama. Come to find out, his father had a whole nother family right down the street in his hometown. He's raised by his grandmother. So there's a lot of trauma in there. So I hear what Don is saying because we've come from a place of lack when we're trying to teach our daughters and granddaughters how to be better and more than us. But on the flip side of that, those who don't come from that, our Caucasian counterparts, a lot of times those women are sent to school for a specific reason, to find a husband, to get a degree, but potentially never use that degree to find a husband. A lot of them go to medical school and law school and graduate and never step foot in a hospital or a courtroom. So they sometimes see the need to partner up and allow that man to be the leader. Now, the counteraction to that, when I've sometimes said, 40, no kids, never been married, what's wrong with you? I've admit that I've had those thoughts in the past. But take, for instance, my fiance, Simone. She would be categorized in that same situation, right? So if I wasn't more open to a different age and stage of life and understanding why she is at where she's at, then I could have missed out on a great thing. And she's a great woman and great for me. I'm sorry?
Would you say that you concentrated on the good things other than the things that are not common?
Well, at a certain point, I think we all get to an age where you say F your list, so to speak.
Okay.
Think about the heart and the spirit of a person. And I looked at that.
Hey, Rashid, you know what? You know what I'm thinking? And guys, excuse me, but I'm kind of a typical nigga on this right here.
Yeah, so, let's go.
I think it's mental.
Okay.
Like when I see somebody that's 40 plus, woman or man, and I think that guys, I think they maybe be struggling, but I always think it's mental. Literally, I always do. I always think that if you're attractive and you're dating and everybody's not right, or you can't find this, or if you're looking for, or either you want to be single, i.e., you like sex with a lot of people too much to commit to one person, or you just, you're mental. Like if I see a nice looking woman and she's 40 and she's interested in men and she can't find one, I think she's crazy.
That's the other side of it. That's the flip coin. The flip side. A lot of people think, what's wrong with her? You're crazy. But to your point, Marsau, as well as Vairrun's, you think it's mental, but he just said it's from trauma, so that is mental. So for men and women, right?
Here's another thing, Marsau. You say mental, and you use it and like it has a negative undertone. Everything that's mental is a negative. You see what I'm saying?
I'm using it as a negative undertone.
Say it again.
I'm using. Well, I'm saying it's like this. I think this.
Like you said, listen. I think it's mental, as if it's negative. Everything that's mental isn't negative. So in my situation, I say this to people. I say, you zoom in on the fact that I haven't been married, that I don't have kids, but why not zoom in on the things that I have accomplished? Okay, I'm not.
Well, I'm not. I don't judge men. I'm not judging at all. Right?
No. I'm not talking about you per se. I'm talking about women that I'm.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this because in our society, people have a tendency to get married and settle down at a certain age, and so that seems to become more common, especially for people that are dating and heterosexual.
And what's that age? What's that certain age?
About between between your 20s up at 40. I think that you're a little late.
So,
What I'm saying in our society.
That's
In our
different.
society.
Now,
He's saying
that's a little
societal, though.
different depending
Societal.
on demographics. People get
Well, I
married.
agree.
Age difference from the South, up
I
north,
agree.
west.
I agree. Listen. I'm not advocating for men to get married. All right. Let me start that. But what I am saying is that I mean that's not a thing for me. All right. But what I am saying is that when I look at an attractive person, okay, when I look at an attractive person and a person that has a desire to settle down, right, or seeming like they have a desire to settle down, or they are dating, right, and so especially a woman, I start looking at the number of opportunities you have and you haven't closed the deal. At some
Okay.
point, I have to say, maybe the issue is in your court.
Right. Okay. All right. So, all right. Hold on one second. Let's pause right there. I don't want to stay too long on this. For my married men in the room, I've been married. I'm engaged right now. So we've all been single. There are pressures involved with single life as well as married life. What are the differences and which pressures do you see distinctly different and sometimes the same?
I think if you're a successful man, especially a black man, if you're a successful black man in America, um, there's a significant pressure for you to be locked down, right? And I think that this is one of the things that I guess Kevin Samuels used to
Right.
talk about all the time, right? And that man used to get castrated
Yeah.
for sometimes telling the truth,
Right.
right?
Facts.
And the thing is, it's a situation in which you don't want to hear the reality of it when it's against you, because he talked about men too. And at
Yep.
first, when he was talking about men, it was like it was all good. Then when he started talking about women, it was all bad, right?
Exactly. So I'll
But
say this real quick. I'll let you finish your thought. But he said it. I used to talk to and about men all the time, but nobody listened. When I started talking about women, that's when all of the microscopes came. Go ahead.
Let's
No,
be
he
honest.
was
Let's be
talking
honest.
about women in
He
the.
didn't do the same thing when it came. Listen,
I don't
Kevin
let him.
Samuel.
Hold on,
A black,
hold on, Verdun. Hold on. Let him finish his point, and then you can chime in. Go ahead.
okay, this is what I say about that. The reality is it's a shortage thing,
Yeah.
right?
Numbers.
And for real, all of us know because man, we've been in this situation. We all make a lot of money. We're educated. We're attractive guys that can hold a good conversation. The numbers just aren't there. And one of the things that he used to say is, when any and Rashid, you know this significantly. You're a scholarship athlete, right?
Right.
The numbers just aren't there for most people who do what you do to get to the level that you got to. And I'm saying just in general, for black women in general, there's just not enough of us, right, available for most women to get what they actually want.
Okay.
So I think the pressure is, of course, to be married. But then you also have women that want what married women have. So that pressure is, hey, I'll make you single again. What is your wife not doing? That's an
Whoa.
active pressure. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And since all of us are married and or have been married, right? I think that when you look at that situation, it's a constant daily reality. Like the truth is, Vairrun right now is more than likely inundated. The one thing that women like is what women like.
Mm.
So the fact that I see that you're already committed means that you can commit.
Bars. Anybody else want? I know Veron wants to chime in. Go ahead, Veron.
I totally agree.
I
I agree
got
with
you.
what he's talking about because I honestly feel like in today's society, maybe for the wrong reasons, that a man that's married is probably a little more attractive to women than a man that's single.
Mm.
Like what you said, you
So
know what I
let
mean?
let me
I
let me.
now don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
don't get shade for not being
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
They'll still go.
Right.
You know
Right.
what? You know what? One thing I can say about this right here, and I'm pretty happy about this. All right, because you guys, for the most part, are you got 2 Kappas, a Sigma, Reese's, GDI, but at the same time, he's handsome, super handsome. And so in our life, you guys are the guys that sit in the club and get chosen, right? Fortunately for me, Omega Psi Phi, I've always had to get mine out the mud. And so the ring doesn't attract
Facts.
anybody to me, okay? I always had to hunt mine. And so if I have the only dodge that I have to do is I have to just not pursue. But women don't, and only time a woman pursues me is when it's a setup. And I know. So it's easy, Like you're in my inbox, like, sweetie, I'm sorry, that doesn't happen to me. That's not how life goes, okay? Hey baby, sorry. That's not a thing.
You don't think Sigmas get it out the mud?
Yeah. I don't think Sigmas get it. And I don't think Sigmas get it at all.
I'm sorry.
I think that you chose to become a Sigma because you knew you could be the upper lower.
He could be the outlier.
You and Dion, bro.
Yeah, I will speak for Don.
Hey, I ain't gonna let you do my chapter like that because we had some heavy hitters. We had Pedro. Come on, man.
I will speak for Don. We didn't have to get anything out the mud.
We didn't.
Yeah, y'all didn't get out of the mud. Yeah. Hey, but y'all didn't win.
Since we on there, it was levels. At A&M, certain letters carry more weight than others. They did.
For sure. Everybody had their run. Everybody had their run, though. Everybody had their run.
Everybody that foreign to you.
Everybody that went Greek.
You say it's foreign to you?
Getting it out of the mud is foreign to me. I don't know.
Because you're light skinned. You guys are light skinned.
No.
You're light skinned. Kappas.
No.
We not in style. We haven't been in style since '83, bro.
With that curly ass hair, my end through the roof.
I'm not light skinned. Listen, the best thing I had going for me was being SGA president. That was a different. See, it was different spaces. I saw on day one when I arrived in fall of '99. I remember I had started at the University of Missouri, and I just remember like walking into cafeterias and you see the immediate like groups, and I'm like, holy shit, where do I fit in here? And I saw that there were a number of different paths. You could have a cool car. I didn't have that. We knew the cats with the car. Y'all were talking about motorcycles earlier. You could be Greek. That was a path. You could be an athlete. She had that. She had all 4 of these, by the way. He had the car, athletics, Kappa, and just being generally 6'5". While we were there. I got to put a few other paths. No, let me finish. There was a few other paths. There was an SGA path. There was an SGA path that was very clear. And when we were there, I don't know if y'all peeped this, was the rise of being a preacher as like a path to like.
Oh wow! You was reading scriptures.
You had like 3 or 4 dudes. You had dudes starting churches like record labels, like we meet at Bib Graves on Tuesday. Jam. Y'all remember Jam? Come on, you remember this?
Jam. So wait a minute. Don. Let me find out.
Why is he like this?
But he's still preaching. He's still preaching.
Hey, Aldo was a preacher for a little while. Aldo.
Oh, niggas was preaching.
Right.
And they was really
right.
Aldo had us at the student center scaring the shit out of us.
Right.
Bro,
Gary is going to hell.
And hitting everything.
Because listen, I'll never forget his preaching days. I'll never forget his preaching. So when I see him now and he come out like, "What's up, my G?" I'd be like, "My G."
Dudes were preaching, man. No, you legit had like competing ministries.
It's growth.
Yeah, it's growth.
Because I'm gonna tell you like when I mentioned Aldo was my jumpstart instructor. He was like one of the guys that I really looked up to. I heard how he was before I got to A&M. And then in 2000, I heard he kind of like straightened out. He really took the community service on the campus serious. So it went from him being my jumpstart instructor to he got to preaching.
Yeah.
And all that foul shit that we was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he was in the student center talking about it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then that disappeared for a while. But then, I tell people this all the time. A lot of times, black men, in my opinion, the ones that I know, kind of come into like knowledge of self at like around the age of 30. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? A lot of times, our 20s, we still trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
because
you're all over the
everybody
place.
else,
Yeah.
they have
Facts.
their background, they have their history, where they came from. They could take it back to the town, the city, the street that they come from. We still searching. Like, we from Africa, we from here, we from there. And I understand when I see Aldo now and he's talking some of the same stuff that I'm talking. I get it, because before then,
Yeah.
before you know yourself, or before you think you know yourself, you say a lot of things that you wouldn't agree with today.
Right.
So
All right.
that's how I
So
look
let
at it.
me,
I look at it as growth.
like
To
I
this
said,
day, Aldo is my dog,
in the
and
in the
I
barbershop,
think a lot
you
of the
always
things
got
that
you
do with
always
black people.
got the conspiracy theorist and the long-winded brother, and he's
Yeah.
both.
I think
So
that's a
look,
key.
let me put a bow on this real quick. So the pressures of marriage versus single life. So I'm gonna say this. From when I thought about this, I thought about, as a married man, I'm married, divorced, and engaged again for the second go around. Hopefully this is the last time. But there's pressures of marriage to lead your household, to take care of your family, your kids, your neighborhood, your this, that, and the third, to be this upstanding person, to where you have to go out and hunt and fish if you're in a traditional type of marriage, which I've always been in. My fiance is adamant about having. And then there's the pressures of the single life, you juggling all these women. Some guys are trying to stunt and live outside their means to pull the certain chick, and then you got a lot of this one, a lot of that one, and all this kind of stuff. Like, I know there's different type of pressures. For me, that single life, for V, y'all can have that shit. Like, I don't want nothing to do with it. I will take the pressures of married life all day long. And both of them can be very difficult. But for me, the pressures of marriage at the end of the day are more rewarding for me, that I can put on my mantle and said, I did this for myself, my family, my wife, and my children. So can you guys speak to any of those type of pressures of marriage versus single life when you were single, married now?
You know what? I will say this, man, and I think that there's some other pressures that, believe it or not, I've been married 17 years. Same woman, got married when I was 27. She was 25, and so what I don't do is compare or allow myself to be compared with other people who have been married, got divorced, and done it, and people have, in terms of knowledge, and say I've been there, I've experienced this, or whatever. Because I know for a fact that I have the choice. I've had the same choice that other people that have had to get a divorce, and I just chose not to for whatever reason. And so, what I will say is this: I say that the pressures of marriage go through ages and stages. And originally, the pressure of marriage may be against that of a single person, right? And in 17 years, and this goes back to the trauma that I get to face with my wife. If anybody knows me, and they know that I'm not faking when I'm on TV, and I especially believe in man as a protector and provider, and goes through all those different things, right? But I had a real huge paradigm shift recently in which I was talking to a new business partner of mine, and I started talking to him about uh, just the protection and provision. And this is a guy that I respect, so naturally I'm listening to him. And he says, my granddad used to tell me, "Are we raising wolves or are we raising sheep?" You know, because if you talk about a partnership and you talk about equal partnership in something, and if I said I'm going to be the protector, right? I'm naturally looking at you as the person that needs protection. I'm naturally looking at you as the weaker person in a certain sense, more delicate person in a certain sense. And so when I had to step back, now remember, me and my wife, we own a business together as well.
Yeah.
And so I was taking that, especially into the business realm, in which I was still protecting my wife from negative stuff that happened in the business and saying, I got this, I got this, I got this. And if I was doing that to a male counterpart, not only would that be non-transparent, it'd be disrespectful. And so once I took it out the realm of protection and provision and really understand that this is disrespecting my partner, I'm looking at her as a weaker person, someone who can't handle this, someone who needs to be protected from this. It kind of changed my paradigm a little bit. And so what I'm learning right now in my 17th year of marriage is that it's quite possible that I could have been wrong in some instances. You know, I think that maybe the same trauma as far as poverty. Now, if I have a trauma, it's definitely poverty. It's
Right.
definitely that, because it's one of those things that I'll express that I'll never go back, but then it's almost like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
If I get put in a situation, you'll see me fucking fight to the end of my death to never be back there.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, great, guys. So let's move on a little bit. We got a little